Hey, it's Kyle Meredith, and welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith With, an audio interview series presented by WFPK, Independent Louisville, and Consequence of Sound. My guest today, Matt Pryor of the Get Up Kids. The last time we heard from the band was 2011 when they put out a record, but there's new music on the way. There is an EP coming out. We got to talk all about that and about why the band chose to record a new EP right now, as well as the first single, Maybe, and its sound that harkens back to the late 90s. It's Kyle Meredith with Matt Pryor of the Get Up Kids. How are you, man?
I'm good.
I feel like we should probably get to the most important part of any of this, and that's I've been told that you've been a commissioner of a local kickball league.
Well, yeah. Well, I wasn't actually the commissioner. I was on the board of directors. But when we were writing the bio, I thought the commissioner sounded more important. So
you're to a point in your life where you've fudged a lie about a kickball league. So
oh, that's not the weirdest thing I've done for a kickball league by far.
Oh well, I feel like maybe that's probably another interview somewhere. That's No, that's fun, though, man. I'm so excited to hear that the Get Up Kids are once again back at it and doing the thing. I guess, we'll backtrack a little bit because the reunion officially happened a decade ago, and the last album arrived in 2011. There's the usual thing of, well, why did it take so long? But really, I'm more curious, like, what made it happen now?
Honestly, I can only speak for myself. Really, like, I just got to a point where I was doing so many other things, like, other projects and other music related things, that I was just like, why am I putting all this time and effort into all these other things when I could put it all into the band? And that was what it was for me. Because we got, when we did our last record, we put it out, we made a different sounding kind of weird record. We put it out ourselves. We toured all over the world, and we were tired, It was just like, okay, let's take a break. And then that break turned into years, and then we would get together from time to time. I would say that the biggest thing about it maybe is that, like, when we started doing these songs for this EP, that we weren't really sure what we were doing, if we were doing demos, if we were doing an album or what. And, like, I just really liked the songs a lot. And I was just kind of like, well, this feels like it's something exciting. You know what I mean? And so that's really the genesis of it, I think.
And you kind of mentioned to it, the last record being a different sound. You guys have played with plenty of different sounds throughout your catalog. I will say this one does, though. It feels like something, from those earlier years. I guess it has that fire of youth that we heard on those, the first few the very famous records and everything. Was that intentional, or did that just happen that way?
Here's the problem I've been having lately is how to describe this without making it sound like, oh, we tried to do something that, like, that isn't going to be, we weren't trying to make, like, our first record part 2. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it was just sort of like, let's play rock songs. So it's been kind of a complicated thing of how to say, like, this feels, I don't know. I've been toying around with, like, modern vintage kind of a little bit, sort of. It's still in the workshopping phases of that, because I know I'm going to get asked that question a lot. So you're my guinea pig.
I'll take
how to answer it.
Well, that's I'll help you out a little bit here, just with how I heard it too, because you talked about some of the other projects you do. You had the solo record in between. Of course, you've been playing with the New Amsterdams, and that allows for a more acoustic lifestyle or rootsy and laid back and stuff. But with this kind of rock and roll, and in with punk rock, I mean, there is a certain fire, I feel like, that has to be there. And I don't know if you ever think that, okay, now I'm older, I've got to reconnect with that, or if it just comes natural to you. But whatever it is, that's what I kept hearing. I was like, oh, that's that fire of youth that most people, they can't reconnect with that. But I hear it all over these songs.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I don't know if I can ever describe myself as having a fire of youth, but I'm happy to take the compliment. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily intentional, but it was very much like, I think we are at a point where we've all done so many other things that now it's like, okay, if we can all do these things on our own, then what makes this band special? Like, why is it worth the trouble to do it? And I think we kind of came to the realization that, like, well, because we do this, and this is something that the 5 of us can't do as individuals. You know what I mean? Is to make music that sounds like the Get Up Kids.
Well, that'll lead nicely into the first singles, maybe. What's the story there? Because, that's the first thing we get to hear from the 2018 Get Up Kids. And again, it comes out as a monster.
Well, thanks. It's just the chorus, like when we were writing the song, like the chorus of the song is actually pretty old, and we kind of like rewrote. So like every time I've made a record, the first thing I do is I go through my, voice memos in my phone, because every time that I come up with an idea, I record it so that I don't forget it. And then when I get done with that, I go through like all of my old demos from however long ago. And the chorus of Maybe kind of ended up, and it was like an acoustic song. Like it was sort of a like campfire-y sing-along kind of thing. And so I was like, what about, we were like, what about this? We took it in the studio and we're like, yeah, let's put this, try and make it sound like Superchunk. Like let's just go at it. And then it was weird. We were done with it. We're kind of like, huh, that's pretty good.
The acoustic thing makes sense then, because there's a lot of melody that's going on here. And I don't think, you always get that melody when you start with something, it's just blazing straight ahead, but coming from that area, that makes a lot of sense.
At one point we were we were talking about working with a producer recently, and he was like, just do what you do. You guys write anthems. Like, keep writing anthems. And I was like, huh, all right. Let's like try and approach it from that perspective of like, write big choruses, write, like hooky guitar riffs and stuff. And let's see where that takes us. And so far that's taken us to that song.
There's another one on here that I kind of centered in on too, called I'm Sorry. And I don't know if I heard it right. Of course, I'm a parent, but I was listening to that and I thought, I don't know if that's a song to the kids or whatever, but here you are in this new version of the band, and you're grown up, and band members have had kids, from what I understand, and touring is hard when you're a parent. And I've sort of wondered if you had found the balance at this point.
Well, I think that's kind of one of those things, and I've been trying to figure out how to explain that too, is that like a lot of times with these kind of metaphors, like a song like I'm Sorry, I don't know if that's about Jim's kids or his wife. I have no idea. These sort of like, you could write a song about missing your kids, and someone could interpret it to be about missing your significant other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you can kind of express the same emotions. And so I think that's probably something that we'll continue to explore thematically, because I'm not going to sing a song how I miss my girlfriend because she moved away to go to college. Like that doesn't make any sense. That's not who I am anymore, But I can write a song about how, I remember things that me and my wife have done, or I'm excited about things that me and my kids have done, and still use some of the similar terminology. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe that's where the sort of like adult version of this band kind of comes into play, of just like, oh yeah, you're feeling the same things. They're not necessarily in this kind of, childish sort of longing kind of thing, but more in like a, as you could probably attest to, a much more adult, a much more complex sort of set of, emotions or of feelings towards the people that you love, and sometimes the people that you can't fucking stand. So, and sometimes they're the same people.
I was waiting for that. That was the line I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of it, though, what do the kids think of Dad the Rock Star? Do they
Good
get it?
God, all they do is fuck with me about it. So my oldest, so my kids, my daughter's 16, my oldest son's 13, and my youngest son's 11, and they're all fairly musically inclined. My daughter she's gone on tour with me before, play acoustic, and she started a band, like a kind of local, like indie rock band. And so I have a rehearsal space in our garage, so they come to our house to rehearse. But then they're always like, hey, Mr. Pryor. And I'm like, please don't call me Mr. Pryor. Just call me Matt. It's fine. And then they'll start going this because they know it makes me uncomfortable. They're like, I'm a really big fan, Mr. Pryor. And then it's like, shut up.
What do you say? It's the comeuppance of whatever adult that you messed with when you were that age.
Oh, I know it's out of love. I mean, I'm a sarcastic person. I have sarcastic kids.
Right.
But it's the kind of thing of like, whenever anybody calls anyone in our band a rock star, I just kind of go like, you don't really understand what a rock star is. Like I'm a working class musician. Like I'm not selling out stadiums. I'm not wearing leather pants,
I always thought, rock star was more of an idea anyway, sort of like the term indie rock was more of an idea than a literal statement.
For me, rock star, like Axl Rose is a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
And I think it's almost as much as much like an attitude as like the singer of Buck Cherry is a rock star because he carries himself like that. You know what I mean? Like it's this kind of like arrogant swagger that I don't like, but I get why people do. So when I was like, "You're a rock star," I'm just like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just." You can call me a punk rocker if you want. I'm in a band.
I appreciate what you do, whatever the terminology is. So it's.
Isn't it funny though that we're so hung up on that even still? Like I was just like, oh, what's punk rock? Oh, this isn't punk rock. This is punk rock. Oh, what's emo? Oh, this isn't emo. This is emo. And like, what's a rock star? Oh, this my interpretation of a rock star is different than yours. And it's just kind of like, but then we all make these goddamn rules that we have to like, adhere to.
Well,
I don't know. It's
yeah, I was going to say I mean, I know that's something you've had to put up with just because, the term emo. I wasn't going to touch it. I wasn't going to bring it up. But,
I'm immune to it. Don't worry about it.
Well, I just mean, a band comes out. It's exactly sort of what you're saying. A band comes out and the people of my ilk, the critics, there's the stamp because we've got to have something for the story and there's got to be something to, suddenly becomes a debate.
It's a marketing term. It was going to be something, right?
Right.
Like, no, is it my favorite term? No. I would have liked to have had more say in what we were going to be called. It kind of makes you sound like a wimp. But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It's just sort of, there's good emo bands, there's bad emo bands, there's good punk rock bands, there's bad rock punk rock.
It's all rock and roll.
Sure.
I mean, draw the line. It's, how different is much of this from, what Buddy Holly was doing, just different pedals or whatever. So a little bit faster.
Yeah, it's all derivative.
Yeah. Well, back on track a little bit at least. So,
okay.
You got the 4 songs, fantastic it's 4 songs, right? It's 4 songs.
Yes.
On the CP. Yeah. This leads to an album, yes?
That's the plan.
And is this? I mean, are these 4 songs representative of what we can expect down the road from an album? You think?
I think somewhat. I mean, we did our first kind of pre-production songwriting session, I guess, last month, and there's some stuff that sounds like that. I mean, every song on this EP is pretty fast, and I think we wouldn't be opposed to over the course of 12 or however many long songs of having some either mid-tempo or ballad or, kind of thing. I think if you had a record that was as fast as that EP is, the whole way through, it'd be a 20-minute long record. And so we're trying to, I think it's definitely going to be a rock record. Yeah. But if you go back and you listen to Something to Write Home About, our second record, there's a lot of slow songs on that record. There's a lot of really fast ones, but there's a lot of kind of introspective stuff on there too.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. Again, if this is the teaser, this is the taste, I'm in, man. I think, I'm not saying it because we're in the interview. I really think that you're making some of the most vital music of your career. I really do.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm stoked on it. You know what I mean? Sometimes when we do stuff that we've been accused of kind of doing weird things for the sake of being weird, and I'm okay with that. But I get more. I think I'm more excited about this than I have been about stuff in a while. So.
That's good news. That's really good news. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you, Matt. This has been a whole lot of fun. Thanks again for taking the time to talk today.
Cool.
That's it, man. You did the thing. If there's
easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, unless there was something you wanted to say, but I got all I needed. So.
Yeah, buy the EP when it comes out. Or don't. I don't care. Listen to it and then come see us live because if you think the EP is good, coming to a show is even better.
Thank you very much, dude. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Hey, thanks to Matt Pryor of the Get Up Kids for giving me a call. Don't forget to subscribe to Consequence of Sound's YouTube channel to keep up with your favorite artists and interviews. And WFPK.org. That's where I do a show every Monday through Thursday between noon and 3 Eastern. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.